The night sky was black like ink. Clouds moved fast above the broken ruins, hiding the moon and letting darkness cover the land. Jack pulled his coat tighter around his shoulders as cold wind pushed through the empty valley. He had been traveling for hours, hoping to find shelter. The old alien temple ahead seemed like his only choice. Its stone walls were cracked, and strange symbols glowed faintly on the surface. They looked like they had been carved by claws, not tools. As Jack stepped closer, he felt the air grow heavier. It was not just the cold, it was something else. Something that made the skin on his neck rise. Inside the ruins, the air smelled of smoke and something sharp, like burning metal. He heard low voices, chanting in a language he did not understand. Jack crouched low, hiding behind a fallen pillar. Through the shadows, he saw a circle of hooded figures. Their robes, black with red markings. They stood around a stone altar, and on it lay someone bound tightly with glowing ropes. At first, Jack thought it was a child, but as his eyes adjusted, he saw fur, silver-white under the faint light ears. Like a wolf's twitched slightly, and a tail lay limp on the altar. It was a young alien wolf girl. Her golden eyes were wide open, staring straight ahead. But she did not cry out. The ropes shimmered like living fire, and Jack could almost feel their heat from where he hid. The cultists' chanting grew louder. Jack saw their leader, taller than the rest, wearing a mask made of bleached bone, shaped like a beast's skull. In his hand, he held a curved dagger, the blade black as shadow. He lifted it toward the sky, speaking in a deep voice that made the floor shake. The words were strange, but Jack caught one thing. The phrase was repeated again and again. "Open the gate." The leader looked down at the wolf girl and placed the dagger above her chest. Jack's heart pounded. He had no weapon, no plan, and no idea what this gate was. But he knew that if he did nothing, she would die. The wolf girl's eyes shifted suddenly. She turned her gaze toward him, as if she knew exactly where he was hiding. Her eyes were bright, almost glowing, for a moment. The chanting faded in Jack's ears. It felt like her stare reached straight into his mind. He didn't hear her voice, but somehow he understood her message. She was pleading without words. "Help me." Jack's breath came fast. Every part of him said to run, to leave before the cult saw him. But something stronger rooted him in place. He thought about the way she was tied, the heat of the ropes, the cold look in the leader's mask, and he realized he could not just walk away. One of the cultists stepped forward and poured a dark liquid over the girl's fur. The smell was sharp and wrong. The leader raised the dagger higher. Jack's hands curled into fists. His mind screamed at him to stay hidden, but his body moved on its own. He stepped out from behind the pillar, his boots scraping against the stone floor. Every hooded head turned toward him. The chanting stopped, replaced by silence thick enough to crush the air. The leader tilted his head slowly. "You do not belong here, human," he said in a deep, unnatural tone. Jack didn't answer. He only took another step forward, his eyes locked on the girl. Her golden eyes blinked once, as if urging him to hurry. The cultists began to close in, their movements slow but sure. Jack knew that in seconds they would be on him, but he also knew there was no turning back now. The leader lowered the dagger. "You interfere, you die." The voice behind the mask said. Jack felt his chest tighten, but he forced a grin that he didn't feel. "Maybe," he said, "but not before I break your little party, then." Without another thought, he lunged forward. The nearest cultist reached for him, but Jack slammed his shoulder into the man's chest. Knocking him back, he grabbed at the glowing ropes, and pain shot through his fingers like fire. The heat was unbearable, but he pulled anyway. The ropes began to dissolve into sparks, and the girl gasped. The leader roared something in the alien tongue. The other cultists rushed forward. But Jack had already freed one of the girl's arms. Her claws flashed as she tore at the rest of her bonds. The stone floor shook again. From deep inside the temple, a low, rumbling sound echoed. The air grew colder. The leader turned his masked face toward the far wall. A crack of light split the stone there, widening like a mouth opening. Jack didn't know what it was, but his gut told him it was bad. Very bad. The girl fell into his arms, weak but breathing. She looked up at him and whispered with a trembling voice, "You shouldn't have done that." Jack frowned. Why? Her golden eyes were full of fear. "Because now it will come," she said. And then the ground beneath them roared. The crack in the wall split wider. Cold light poured through, spilling across the temple floor like liquid silver. The air turned sharp, stinging Jack's lungs every time he breathed. From beyond the opening, something moved, slow, deliberate. Too big to see all at once, the cultists fell to their knees, chanting again, their voices shaking. The leader raised his bone mask toward the gate, his dagger held high. Jack didn't. Wait to see more. He pulled the wolf girl to her feet. "Move," he hissed. Her legs wobbled, but she obeyed. Together they stumbled toward the nearest archway. Behind them, the chanting grew louder. The thing beyond the gate let out a deep, throbbing sound. It wasn't a roar, not exactly. It was more like a heartbeat mixed with a growl. Jack's skin crawled at the sound. The wolf girl's ears twitched back, and her tail bristled in terror. "They've called it," she whispered. "They've called what?" Jack demanded. Her answer was swallowed by a sudden crash as the temple floor split in two. A massive claw, black and wet-looking, pushed through the crack. It was easily longer than Jack's arm, each talon like a knife. The cultists cried out. In praise, not fear, Jack swore under his breath. He didn't need to know its name. He knew they had to get out now. They darted into a narrow corridor. The walls were damp, carved with the same claw marks he had seen outside. The girl leaned heavily on him, her breath coming fast. The glowing ropes had left angry burns on her wrists and ankles. Jack wished he had time to check them, but there was no time. Behind them, the floor shook again. Dust fell from the ceiling. Stinging his eyes, they reached the end of the corridor, only to find a collapsed wall blocking the way. Jack cursed. The girl's eyes scanned the wall. "There's a gap there," she pointed. It was small, barely wide enough for her to crawl through. "You go first," Jack said. She shook her head. "No, you're slower." He opened his mouth to argue, but the sound behind them changed. The chanting had stopped, replaced by the sound of heavy, wet footsteps. They were coming closer. Jack didn't argue again. He dropped to the ground and shoved himself through the gap. Stones scraped his back, but he forced his way out, pulling the girl after him. They tumbled into the open night. The cold air outside felt sharp and clean compared to the temple's choking heat. For a moment, Jack thought they were safe. Then he heard it, a screech like metal tearing mixed with the howl of a dying animal. The sound came from the gate. The girl's golden eyes widened. "It's through," she said. Jack grabbed her hand. "We run," he said. They sprinted across the uneven ground, weaving between broken pillars and fallen statues. The girl's bare feet made almost no sound. Jack's boots crunched on loose stones. Every few steps, she glanced back, ears flicking at every noise. The forest loomed ahead, dark but offering cover. They ran into the trees, branches whipping against their faces behind them. The forest began to change. The sounds of night creatures went silent. The air grew colder still, and a faint silver mist began to creep between the trunks. The girl stumbled, and Jack caught her. Her breathing was ragged. "They'll hunt us," she said. "Not if we keep moving," Jack replied. She shook her head. "Not them. It." Jack swallowed hard. The image of the black claw burned in his mind. "What is it?" he asked, her ears flattened. "The thing that waits beyond the gate," she said, "and it knows my scent now." They reached a small stream and splashed through it. The cold water bit into Jack's legs. He hoped it would wash away their trail, but the girl didn't look convinced. She stopped and turned toward him. "You don't understand," she said. "It will never stop. Not until I am gone, or it is sealed again." Jack stared at her. "Then we seal it," he said. She gave him a long look, as if weighing something in her mind. Finally, she nodded once. "Then we'll need to move faster," she said. The mist thickened. Shapes began to move inside it. Too tall, too thin. Jack couldn't tell if they were trees or something else. A sound like a whisper brushed his ear, though the girl was too far to have spoken. He looked at her. Her fur bristled, her eyes scanning the shadows. "They're calling to it," she said. "They wanted to find us." Suddenly, a forest ahead lit up with the orange glow of fire. Through the trees, Jack saw figures. More cultists blocking the path. They carried long spears and torches. The leader wasn't with them. But the bone mask was carved into every spear's tip. The girl's claws flexed. Jack glanced behind them, where the mist was moving closer. In front of them, cultists. Behind them, the thing. The girl met his eyes. "There's no way out," she said. Jack felt his pulse hammer in his ears. He forced a grim smile. "Then we make one," he said, and he stepped toward the fire. The firelight danced on the cultists' masks. Their shadows stretched long over the forest floor. Jack tightened his grip on the wolf girl's arm. Feeling her tense like a drawn bowstring, the mist behind them rolled closer, curling between tree roots and wrapping around rocks. The sound within it was not footsteps. It was heavier, slower, more certain. Whatever was in the mist did not hurry. It knew there was no need. The girl's golden eyes flicked from the cultists to the shadows behind. Her ears twitched once, twice. "It's almost here," she whispered. Jack's gut tightened. "What is it?" he asked, though he already feared the answer. Her gaze locked on him. "The thing that lives beyond the gate," she said. "They call it the Hollow Fang." The name alone made Jack's skin crawl. The cultists stepped forward, lowering their spears. Jack counted them 7 in all. Too many to fight with, only his fists and a half-exhausted wolf girl. The leader of the group, a short man with a burned mask, raised his spear and pointed it at the girl. "She belongs to the gate," he said in a cold voice. "Give her 2 US, and you may live." Jack forced a smirk he didn't feel. "Not my style," he said. The man's head tilted slightly. "Then you'll die in her place," he said. The mist shifted suddenly. Something large moved just beyond the edge of sight. The trees groaned as if something was brushing against them. The cultists glanced nervously toward the sound. Even they seemed afraid. The girl's claws flexed at her sides. "They can't control it," she said softly, almost to herself. Jack heard the faintest scrape, like claws dragging over stone. The noise was coming from above. He looked up through the fog. A huge shape slid between the tree branches. It didn't walk, it flowed, like shadow made solid. Dozens of eyes, all shapes and sizes, glimmered in its form and from its mouth. If it was a mouth, a slow hiss leaked into the cold air. The cultists panicked. One dropped his spear and ran, disappearing into the trees. The burned mask leader shouted after him. But it was useless. Jack knew this was his only chance. "Move," he shouted to the girl. They broke into a sprint. Weaving between the confused cultists, one slashed at Jack with a spear. Grazing his side, pain burned hot under his ribs. But he kept running. The girl moved faster, her tail streaming behind her. They burst out of the firelight and into the deeper dark of the forest. Behind them, the hollow fang roared. It wasn't like any sound Jack had ever heard. It shook the air and rattled the bones in his chest. He glanced back and wished he hadn't. The thing was not chasing in a straight line. It moved like liquid. Shadow, slipping between trees, passing through branches as if they were smoke. And yet, every second, it grew closer. The girl pulled him toward a slope. "This way," she said. They slid down into a shallow ravine. The air here was damp, and the sound of running water filled Jack's ears. A stream cut through the bottom of the ravine. The girl crouched and plunged her hands into the water. She scooped mud and smeared it across her fur. "Do it," she said, tossing him a handful. Jack hesitated. "It hides the scent," she explained quickly. Jack slapped the cold mud onto his coat. Shivering at the chill, they crouched low in the shadows. The mist rolled over the top of the ravine. Jack held his breath. A shape passed above them, sliding over the ridge like a shadow searching for light. Its eyes glowed faintly in the dark, scanning. One of them paused, looking straight down. Jack's heart froze. The girl's hand gripped his wrist tightly. The hollow fang lingered for a long moment, then moved on, slipping into the trees. They stayed still for another minute before the girl finally released his wrist. Jack exhaled slowly. "We're not safe yet," she said. He nodded. "Then, where do we go?" he asked. She looked toward the east. "There's a place," she said. "Old stone. Older than the temple, it can hold back the gate's call." Jack frowned. "And we just hide there forever?" She shook her head. "No, from there, we can reach the heart." "The heart of what?" he asked. "The gate," she said simply, "and close it." A distant scream echoed through the forest. It was high and desperate. One of the cultists, then it cut off, replaced by the slow scrape of claws. Jack didn't need to ask what had happened. The hollow fang was still hunting, and now there were fewer distractions between it and them. The girl started moving quickly along the stream, keeping low. Jack followed. Every step felt like a gamble. Every sound made him glance over his shoulder. The forest seemed to hold its breath around them. Even the wind had gone still. When they finally stopped, the moon had returned. It shone weakly through a gap in the clouds. The light touched the girl's fur, making it glow faintly. Jack noticed she was shaking, not from cold, but from exhaustion. "You need rest," he said. She shook her head again. "If I stop now, we both die," she said. Jack hated that she was probably right. But in the back of his mind, he knew she couldn't keep running forever. Far behind them, in the mist, a low hum began to rise. It was not the roar from before. It was slower, deeper, almost like a song. The girl froze mid-step. "It's calling me," she said. Her voice was barely a whisper. Jack stepped in front of her. "Then I'll make sure it doesn't find you," he said, for the first time since he met her. She gave him a small, tired smile. "You talk like you can stop it," she said. Jack's eyes narrowed. "Maybe I can," he said. And together, they kept moving east. The forest was a maze of twisting shadows. Branches hung low, clawing at Jack's coat as he pushed forward. The moonlight barely touched the ground here. It was as if the trees themselves were holding their breath. The wolf girl moved ahead of him, her golden eyes glowing faintly in the dark. Her ears twitched with every sound. Jack could tell she was listening to things he couldn't hear, things that moved just beyond the edges of sight. They had been walking along the stream for nearly an hour. The sound of water was a steady comfort, but it also covered the noises of anything following them. Jack kept glancing over his shoulder. Every time he did, the mist seemed a little closer. Not thick enough to hide them yet, but enough to make the air taste cold and metallic. The girl slowed suddenly. Lifting her hand, Jack froze. She tilted her head slightly. "They're near," she whispered. He frowned. "The cultists?" Her ears flattened. "No, them," she said. Jack didn't like the way she said it. From the darkness ahead came a faint rustle. Not like leaves in the wind. It was sharper, controlled. Jack crouched low without thinking. The girl stepped silently toward the sound. A moment later, a shadow moved between the trees. Jack's breath caught. It was a figure, humanoid but wrong. Its limbs were too long, bending in strange angles. Its head turned unnaturally far, revealing two pale eyes that shone in the dark. It didn't blink, it didn't breathe, it just watched. Another shape joined it, then another. Soon, there were 5 of them, standing in a half-circle ahead. The girl took a step back. "They're not alive," she said, her voice low. Jack's eyes narrowed. "What do you mean?" "They're Hollow's hunters," she said, shadows wearing flesh. One of the hunters tilted its head. Then it stepped forward, its movements jerky. The others followed. Jack's instincts screamed to run, but the girl grabbed his wrist. "No sudden moves," she whispered. "They can't see like we do. They feel the air move. They taste the sound." Jack stayed still. The hunters closed in, their feet making no noise on the forest floor. They stopped just a few steps away. Jack could smell them now, a faint rot mixed with cold stone. One of the hunters lifted its head and sniffed the air. Its pale eyes moved toward the girl. Jack's muscles tensed. Before it could step closer, the girl let out a low growl. It was deep, rumbling, and unnatural. The sound made the hunters pause for a few seconds. Everything was still. Then, as if pulled by some invisible command, the hunters turned and melted back into the dark. The girl exhaled slowly. "There. Gone," she said. "For now?" Jack stared at her. "What was that?" he asked. She didn't answer right away. Finally, she said, "They know my kind, and they know we fight back." Her voice was quiet, but there was a sharp edge to it. Jack decided not to push further. They kept moving deeper into the forest. The stream curved east, leading them toward higher ground, but the air was changing. The cold was sinking into Jack's bones. Every breath came out like a faint cloud. The girl's fur bristled. "It's getting closer again," she said. Jack didn't have to ask what it meant. The hollow fang was following, far behind them. A distant roar echoed through the trees. It was deep enough to shake the ground. Birds exploded from the branches above. Flying blindly into the night, the girl grabbed Jack's hand. "We have to move faster," she said. They broke into a run. The ground rose beneath their feet, roots and rocks threatening to trip them with every step. They crested a small ridge and stopped. Below, in a clearing, fires burned in a loose circle. Figures moved around them, more cultists, but these were armed differently. They carried crossbows, and some had nets. "They're not just guarding," Jack whispered. "They're hunting." The girl replied. Jack scanned the camp. "There's no way around without them seeing us," he said. The girl's eyes narrowed. "Then we go through." Jack gave her a look. "That's suicide." She shook her head. "Not if we make them think we're somewhere else," before he could ask how. She crouched low and scooped up a stone. She threw it deep into the trees to their left. It crashed through the branches with a loud crack. Instantly, 3 cultists ran toward the sound. The others turned their heads, distracted. "Now," she whispered. They slipped down the ridge, keeping to the shadows. Jack's heart pounded as they passed within arm's reach of one cultist. The girl moved like smoke, silent and fast. They were almost past the camp when a sudden shout rang out. One of the cultists spotted them. An arrow whistled past Jack's ear. He grabbed the girl's hand and ran. The camp erupted into chaos behind them. Shouts and footsteps followed as they pushed into the trees. The chase was short because above the noise of pursuit came a new sound, a low hiss that grew into a roar. The cultists behind them screamed. The sound of tearing flesh followed, wet and sharp. Jack didn't dare look back. He already knew what had caught them. The hollow fang was here. The girl pulled him toward a narrow path between two moss-covered stones. Almost there, she said. Jack had no idea where there was, but right now, anywhere away from the thing in the mist was good enough. The moss-covered stones opened into a narrow canyon. The walls rose high on both sides, trapping the cold air. Jack's breath came hard, the echo of their footsteps bouncing back to them. The wolf girl kept glancing over her shoulder, her ears twitching at every faint sound. The mist was not far. Now it rolled into the canyon entrance like a living thing. Slow, patient, certain of its prey, Jack knew they couldn't outrun it anymore. His legs burned, his lungs ached, and the girl was limping now. The burns from the ropes were slowing. Her down every step she took seemed heavier. She stopped suddenly, forcing him to turn toward her. "It's no use," she said, her voice sharp but calm. "If we keep running like this, it will have us before the next bend." Jack looked back. The pale glow of the hollow fang's eyes was already visible in the mist. It was close enough now that its shape was clearer. A long, shifting body, with claws that scratched the stone as it moved. "What do you want me to do?" Jack asked, his voice low. The girl took a deep breath. "There's only one way we can fight it together," she said. Jack frowned. "We already are." She shook her head. "No, not like this." Her gaze locked on his. "My blood," she said. "If you take it, it will bind us. Your strength will be mine, and mine will be yours." Jack stared at her. "What are you talking about?" She stepped closer, her golden eyes bright even in the dim light. "It will give you speed, senses, and power. But it comes with a cost." "What cost?" he asked. She hesitated. "Our lives will be linked if one of us dies. So does the other." The mist moved closer, curling along the canyon walls. The hollow fang's hiss slid through the air like ice water down Jack's spine. He didn't need more time to think. "Do it," he said. The girl blinked. "You don't even—" "I don't care." Jack cut her off. "We die together or we fight together, and I'd rather fight." For a moment, she just stared at him. Then, without a word, she lifted her hand. Her claws were sharp. She drew one across her palm, and dark, silver-tinged blood welled up, glowing faintly. "Drink," she said. Jack hesitated only for a heartbeat before taking her hand. The blood was warm and bitter the moment it touched his tongue. His heart slammed hard in his chest. Pain shot through his body. His vision blurred, then sharpened. The world lit up in strange colors. He could hear the slow grind of the hollow fang's claws far better than before. He could smell the damp stone, the moss, and even the metallic tang of the mist. Every muscle in his body felt alive. The girl staggered, her breath hitching. Jack reached out, steadying her. "Are you okay?" he asked. She gave a small nod. "The link is made," she said, her voice low. "I feel you, and you feel me." The hollow fang emerged from the mist. Now Jack could see it clearly. Its body was long and thin, covered in shifting darkness. Like smoke made solid, dozens of eyes blinked across its surface, and its claws dug deep grooves into the stone. It hissed, the sound sharp enough to make Jack's teeth ache. He didn't wait for it to strike. "Stay behind me," he said. The girl growled. Not a chance. They moved together. Jack's new senses matched hers perfectly. When she shifted to the left, so did he. When she ducked under the monster's swipe, he was already moving with her. The hollow fang struck fast, its claws lashing out. Jack caught one on his arm, the blow knocking him back but not breaking him. The girl leaped forward, slashing at the creature's side. Her claws tore through the smoky flesh, leaving glowing wounds. The monster howled. The sound rattled the canyon walls. Jack surged forward, grabbing one of its limbs. It was cold, almost brittle under his hands. He twisted hard, feeling it crack. The girl pounced, biting deep. For a moment, the hollow fang recoiled, sliding back into the mist. Jack and the girl both staggered. The shared link sent pain from her wounds. Into his own body, he gritted his teeth. "We can't win like this," she said. "Then how do we?" he asked, her eyes flicked upward. "The cliff, if we bring the rocks down, we can bury it." Jack looked around. The canyon walls were steep, but there were loose stones high above. The girl ran toward the far side, drawing the hollow fang. After her, Jack climbed quickly, using roots and cracks in the stone. The monster slashed at her, missing by inches when he reached the ledge. Jack shoved at a massive rock until it teetered on the edge. "Now?" she shouted. Jack pushed with all his strength. The boulder crashed down. Shattering on the hollow fang's back, the impact sent it sprawling. More stones followed as the wall began to crumble. Dust and debris filled the air. The creature hissed and thrashed. Then, slowly, it slid back into the mist, disappearing from sight. Jack dropped down beside the girl. Her chest rose and fell fast. "It's not dead," she said. Jack nodded. "But it's hurt, and that's enough for now." The link between them pulsed with shared exhaustion. They both knew this was only the beginning. The canyon narrowed until it became a twisting path through jagged stone. The air was colder here, sharp enough to sting Jack's lungs. The wolf girl walked ahead, her ears tilted forward, her steps careful and silent. They had left the hollow. Fang wounded behind them, but the link between them still carried a faint pulse of danger. Jack could feel it like a shadow in the back of his mind. "It's following," he said quietly. "She didn't look back. It always will." "Until the gate is closed," she replied. The path curved sharply, opening into a hidden valley. In the center stood a structure unlike the ruined temple they had escaped. This place was whole, untouched by time. Its black stone walls shone faintly under the moonlight. At the very top of its steps, a crystal the size of a man's chest pulsed with a steady red light. Jack felt its presence before he even saw it. The air around it seemed heavier. "That's it," the girl whispered. "The heart of the gate." Jack stared at it. "It doesn't look like much," he said. Her golden eyes didn't leave the crystal. "It doesn't need to. It's not made for your eyes. It's made for what's beyond." She took a step forward, then stopped. "They'll be here soon," she said. Jack frowned. "The cultists?" She shook her head. "No, the fang, and maybe worse." They climbed the stone steps. The closer they got, the more Jack felt the crystal's pull. It was like an invisible hand reaching into his chest, searching for something. The girl's fur bristled. "It's calling," she said. Jack glanced at her. "You can hear it." Her ears twitched. "It's not a sound, it's a promise. A whisper telling you to give in." When they reached the top, the crystal's light brightened. Jack could see faint shapes moving within it, like shadows swimming in blood. He didn't like the way they seemed to notice him. The girl stepped closer to close the gate. "We have to break it," she said. Jack gave a dry laugh. "Looks simple enough." Her gaze stayed fixed on the crystal. "You don't understand, it will fight back." A sudden roar shook the valley. Jack turned to see the mist spilling into the clearing from the canyon path. The hollow fang's glowing eyes appeared first. Then its long, twisting body slid into view. It moved slower than before. Its wounds still raw, but there was nothing weak about it now. Behind it, figures emerged from the mist. Cultists, their faces hidden, their weapons raised. Jack's jaw tightened. "They really don't want us breaking that thing." The girl stepped in front of the crystal. "You hold them back," she said. "I'll end it." Jack didn't argue. He moved down the steps, his body tense, his senses alive with the strange strength from their bond. The first cultist rushed him, swinging a curved blade. Jack caught the strike on his forearm and slammed his elbow into the man's throat. sending him to the ground. Another lunged at him from the side. But the girl's voice in his head made him turn just in time to dodge. The link was more than just shared life. It was shared instinct. The hollow fang reached the base of the steps. It reared up, claws flashing in the red light. Jack braced for the attack, but before it could strike, the girl's roar cut through the air. The sound made the fang hesitate, its eyes flicking toward her. She slammed her clawed hands into the crystal the moment her blood touched it. The red light exploded outward. Jack felt the impact like a hammer in his skull. The cultists screamed, dropping their weapons. The hollow fang let out a shriek that shook the ground. The crystal's glow turned blinding white. Through the light, Jack saw the girl's silhouette, her claws digging deeper into the stone. The surface of the crystal cracked, a web of light spread across it. The shapes inside twisted violently, pressing against the surface as if trying to escape. Almost there, her voice reached him. Though her lips didn't move, Jack cut down another cultist and turned back toward her. The fang lunged. Jack threw himself into its path. Grabbing one of its claws with both hands, the cold of its touch burned through his skin. It thrashed, trying to shake him off. Pain shot through his arm, but he held on. He could feel the girl's strength in his muscles, the bond pushing him. Past his limits, the crystal gave a sharp crack. A beam of light shot straight into the sky. The fang let out one final ear-splitting roar. Then its body began to collapse, turning into smoke that was pulled toward the breaking crystal. The cultists fled into the darkness, their chants replaced by screams. Jack released the fang's claw and stumbled back, his vision swimming. The girl gave one last push. The crystal shattered completely, exploding into 1,000 pieces. The blast threw them both to the ground. The air turned still. The mist faded, leaving only the cold night wind. Jack forced himself up, his chest heaving. The girl lay on the stone, her breathing slow but steady. "It's done," she said softly. Jack nodded, but far away. In the direction of the ruined temple, a faint red glow still flickered in the distance, and both of them knew some doors never stay closed forever. The wind carried the scent of rain as the valley fell silent. The crystal's remains still glimmered faintly, scattered like shards of frozen fire. Jack sat on the cold stone steps, his hands resting on his knees, his breath uneven. The wolf girl stood a few paces away, her fur ruffled by the breeze, her golden eyes fixed on the distant red glow beyond the mountains. Even though the gate's heart was gone, they both felt it, a faint pull in the back of their minds. "Like a door still trying to open, you should rest," Jack said quietly. She didn't turn. "If I rest, I'll dream of it," she replied. Jack gave a faint smile. "Then we'll keep moving," he said. That made her glance at him, her gaze softer than before. "You don't have to stay," she said. "You've already risked your life for me, for something that isn't even your fight." Jack shook his head. "It became my fight the moment I cut you loose from those ropes," he said. For a moment, they just stood there in the cold night. The bond between them pulsed softly. Not painful, not heavy, just present. Jack could feel her exhaustion, and he knew she could feel his too. It was strange and intimate, like sharing a heartbeat. He didn't know if he liked it, but he knew he wouldn't break it. Even if he could, she walked down the steps toward him, her movement slow from the battle. "You understand what this bond means, don't you?" she asked. "That our lives are tied," Jack said. She nodded. "Yes, but it's more than that." Her gaze held his. "Where you go, I go. What you feel. I feel your fight will always be mine, and mine will always be yours." Jack let out a short breath, half a laugh. "Sounds like we're stuck with each other." Her ears twitched in something close to amusement. "Or we're a pack now," she said. Before Jack could answer, the wind shifted. From far away came a low, deep rumble. It wasn't thunder. It was slower, heavier. Like something waking from a long sleep, the girl's fur bristled. "It's not over," she said softly. Jack's jaw tightened. "Then we'll be ready," he replied. They began their descent from the valley, following the narrow canyon back toward the forest. The moonlight spilled silver over the rocks, casting long shadows ahead of them. Every sound felt sharper now, every breath of wind more deliberate. The bond made it impossible to ignore her instincts. When she paused, he paused. When she turned her head, he already knew what she had heard. Halfway down the canyon, they found the trail of the cultists who had fled. The ground was marked by boot prints, some deep and hurried. A torn piece of robe caught on a jagged stone fluttered in the wind. "They'll try again," the girl said. Jack nodded. "And next time, they won't just want you." He said, "They'll want me too," by the time they reached the forest edge. The eastern horizon was beginning to lighten. The mist that had haunted them all night was gone, leaving only damp leaves and the smell of wet earth. Birds began to stir, their calls breaking the heavy silence. It felt almost peaceful. Almost, but Jack knew better than to trust peace after a night like this. The girl stopped beside a fallen tree and leaned against it, her eyes half closed. "Rest, just for a moment," he said. She didn't argue. Her breathing slowed, and for the first time since they met, she allowed herself to relax. Jack sat beside her. "You have a name?" he asked after a moment. She opened one eye. "Yes," she said. "But names have power. I will give it to you when you've earned it." Jack chuckled. "Fair enough," he said. She closed her eyes again. "You already earned my trust." She murmured, "That's more than anyone else has." The sky grew brighter, and the forest slowly came to life. Jack let himself enjoy the quiet for a little while, but in the back of his mind, the bond pulsed again, and this time it carried something else. Not fear, not pain, but a faint echo of hunger. The girl's eyes opened, and she gave a small smile. "You felt that?" she asked. "Yeah," Jack said. "Guess I'm hungry too." She stood, stretching her arms and tail. "Then let's find something to eat, and then we plan." As they walked into the forest, Jack thought about everything that had happened. In one night, he had gone from a stranger in alien ruins to being part of a fight older than he could imagine. He had faced a monster that shouldn't exist and survived only because of the strange, fierce girl beside him.